Season 1 is here and Sorc got nerfed pretty hard. However, we're going to try to get a build to save that, fix your damage, and hopefully be able to output the same damage as other classes, as well as still maintain a good damage output with AoE, single target, and damage reduction mitigation. I'm going to go over everything including the stats, prioritization, the gear prioritization, the skill tree, and the Paragon board that's been completely revamped, as well as a level 1 to 15 power level spec that's going to get you through content early game very fast. We got a lot to go over. What's up, brothers? We're back in the video channel, all things Diablo 4. Okay, so we're going to try to make Sorc as powerful as we can, almost as powerful as today's sponsor. Signal RGB has partnered with Skytech Gaming and Intel to bring you this insanely detailed, one-of-a-kind Diablo 4 inspired PC. This thing has some of the coolest features I've ever seen on a PC, with swirling potions that react to your health and resource management in real time, giving you one of the most unique and one-of-a-kind experiences while playing Diablo 4. This was made possible by the Signal RGB app. It can sync directly to any device with no limitations, bringing you a cohesive lighting experience, even as one as unique and custom as this. The other main structure of the design was 3D printed and designed by the Skytech team, who made sure that performance and cooling was also a top priority. In addition to it being one of a kind, it's also completely hand painted. It contains an Intel 13600K and an RTX 4070, giving you an incredibly powerful hardware experience that can handle anything you need, including defeating Lilith and saving Sanctuary. And did I mention they're giving this thing away completely free? Check out my link down below to enter the giveaway. It will be in the description as well as a pinned comment down below. Again, thank you Signal RGB, partnered with Skytech Gaming and Intel, for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's just jump right back into the actual build guide. Now I'm going to go on a level 1 character really quickly so you can kind of see what we have for Lilith statue, skill points, and some of the skill points from the Renown, as well as kind of how to power level that early level very quickly, as it's a little bit of a different spec and it's probably going to help you a ton. Okay, so we're here in just a level 1 dungeon. We are world tier 2. Really quickly, I'm going to go over what we're going to spec into with our 10 skill points, and then we'll kind of showcase some gameplay footage for it, and then we'll move on to the actual build. Okay, so quickly, we're just going to jump into our perks here just for this level 1 to 10 build. We're going to go into Spark, then Enhanced Spark, and we're going to get that critical strike damage. We're going to go into Chain Lightning, and we're also going to go into the bounce damage here, the Greater Chain Lightning. We'll come down quickly here. We're going to grab all of our utility stuff here very fast. So we'll grab Teleport, we can grab our Mana Shield, and we can grab our Nova. Now we can also either go into Flame Shield, which is really like mega ultra try hard at the very beginning if we really need to. However, I'm probably going to go into Glass Cannon. Now again, we have a ton of utility here, and if you really need to, you can go into that Flame Shield. I'm going to go Glass Cannon just so we can get that damage output out, and you'll kind of see how this build is working out off at level 1. As you see, we're already level 2 instantly, immediately. I didn't think that was going to happen that quickly, but the damage output here is insane. Off the rip, we're already level 3 right off the bat. So you see, we're already power leveling through. Now, you really just want to use this build up to about level 15. Once you get to level 15, then we can go ahead and switch out. Really don't even need Frost Nova at this point. In fact, we could probably spec fully into Chain Lightning. But you see, we already have a ton here, so we can go into Flame Shield. We can go right into more damage here. That's what I'm going to do, is just put more damage into our thing here. I'm going to swap. Okay, I'm back to where I was before. Super fast power leveling here. We're already level 4 practically instantly. Again, it's super quick here. So you get the gist. And this is going to be your kind of power level build at the very beginning. You're really just kind of speccing into stuff. Now we can go into here and take Flame Shield if you really wanted to. Grab that. Although for now I wouldn't. I'd probably just go into Chain Lightning. Kind of fill out Chain Lightning, you know, and then come down here. You could take your vulnerable damage if you need to, although vulnerable damage isn't going to matter a ton early game necessarily, because you want to build your stats. You're not really going to have the gear that kind of mimics the vulnerable damage. But in any case, this is kind of like a power level. As you see, we got through level 1 through 4 really fast, and it just does a lot of damage, and it's very quick. Now, jumping back into the core build here, we're going to go over everything quickly as possible, especially the skill tree, because this is one that doesn't matter too much. Now here, we're going to take these two. The reason why is because we can always swap off one of these. Currently, we are going to take our Ice Shard Enchant here. There's a little buggy with this. So we're going to take Ice Shard Enchant. We can swap off during boss fights to take Frostbolt. That's the reason why we are taking these two right here, instead of just putting 2 points into this. Now we have to do it again to get to this section here, but we're just putting 2 points into here, into each of these, or 1 point into each of these, so that way we can swap off for boss fights if we want the extra chill damage, or the extra chill that applies to them, we can use that, which is actually really decent for Uber Lilith and things like bosses if you really want to, min-max gaming, so we are going to take that. Moving on, we go into Ice Shards fully. We're going to go into Enhanced Ice Shards and then Destructive Ice Shards. We're going to come into the Devastation and Elemental Dominance. However, if you are leveling, I would skip these for now. These are kind of later on. These are actually the last 2 points that I took. We'll come down in here. We'll again grab Flame Shield. If we have an item contribution, we don't need to take Teleport, but we'll take it for now until we get an item contribution there. We'll go ahead and take Ice Armor and then Frost Nova. We'll go 3-3 Glassy Cannon, and then the Elemental Attunement I wouldn't take until way later, especially some of these perks like this. We'll probably take Enhanced Ice Armor kind of early because we do want that mana regeneration. However, with Enhanced Flame Shield and Mystical Flame Shield, these can kind of wait till later because we do want to focus on Frost Nova and getting that vulnerability with Mystical Frost Nova. So we'll pump out Frost Nova. We'll go into here. We'll take those. We'll come down here. As soon as this unlocks, I would grab Align the Elements. The reason being is because this is going to give us a lot of damage mitigation against elites. And then Precision Magic here. Again, this is one that we might not take at all. I like it. I'm going to use it for now. However, I would wait. If you are leveling, I wouldn't take it right away. Coming down into here, we're going to get our bread and butter, which is Blizzard. This is going to be really nice and really paired up well with our Ice Shards. We'll go into Enhanced Blizzard and Mage's Blizzard. Wizard's Blizzard did get buffed a little bit, but I don't think it's worth it. Icy Veil, we're only going to take one here. We're going to go 3-3 Snap Freeze and 3-3 Cold Front. The Cold Front is one that if you didn't want to take, it's something that you could swap out on, but I do like it. We'll come down in here and get Inner Flames and then Devouring Blaze. These are, again, really, really good. This is going to be our main damage output. However, it did get nerfed significantly, but we're still going to use it. Coming down here, we'll go 3-3 Permafrost, and then 3-3 Hoarfrost, and then Frigid Breeze 3-3 as well, and Icy Touch 3-3. I think you could min-max one of these sections here. I believe it's, or maybe it's up here. I think that their other tick rate, I think you could take one out of Cold Front, and the 16 will apply that extra chill. There's something here that you can min-max on one of these abilities here. However, I'm not really concerned too much with that. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in there. There's really nothing else we can do. Again, right away we'll go into Avalanche. That one we'll grab. There's just not a lot of other points that we could put points into that really are going to matter too much. Maybe the mana here or even Elemental Dominance we could swap out some points for if you really didn't want to, or min-max. You could definitely take some points and put it in Elemental Dominance. Again, let's go into our gear very, very quickly. A lot of this stuff I don't have correct, but I'm going to tell you the alternative that I would use. This is my Lilith build. I haven't changed it out. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Currently, we do have Flame Shield on the helmet. However, you could take Bubble. There's also a few different choices that you could take here. This one's kind of open for interpretation or open to take what you want. For right now, I'm probably going to take Bubble with the Elite Bubble. It's pretty good, especially for damage mitigation, and Sork is definitely going to need it. We are still going to take the Armor Legendary. And again, our focus here with our stats, mana, max life, armor, cooldown reduction on our helmet. With our chest piece, we want some damage reduction, more damage reduction probably than frost skill damage, and we still want that int. We're also going to take that Armor Legendary. Moving on to our hands, we need full ranks of Ice Shards. It's kind of a must. Crit Strike chance and Lucky Hit chance, you don't necessarily need. There is one that has attack speed on there that I have in my inventory that I can kind of swap out for. But for right now, this is pretty good. Also, the 5% chance to restore resource regen. But our main focus here is to deal the 23% increased barrier damage. Coming down to here, this is going to be our main bread and butter for damage reduction, as well as Blizzard, max life, and damage reduction. Those are really the stats we're going to want. There's maybe one more damage reduction stat that you could swap out for Blizzard, although I kind of do like the ranks of Blizzard, so I'm going to keep it for now. We're going to take 24% less damage from crowd control vulnerable enemies. We really need this now for the damage mitigation. It's kind of a must. Moving on to our boots, Frost Nova, move speed, intelligence, and mana cost reduction, as well as our unstoppable and increase to damage or crowd control enemies, and then our unstoppable, we increase damage to the unstoppable enemies. That's really a must here too as well. Coming down to our wand, again, main stat for our wand, this one is pretty universal, Vuln, crit, intel, and core. A lot of this stuff was nerfed, it doesn't matter, it's still the best. For our imprint here, we're going to go with the 15% increased critical strike damage, increased critical strike chance to injured enemies, and then while we're healthy, we're going to do an additional 30% increased crowd control duration. That's going to help a ton with our damage and hopefully keeping enemies locked down, especially when we get to those higher level dungeons. Now here, this is the big one. This is their big bread and butter. We definitely want the 3 ranks of the Devouring Blaze. We want the 3 ranks of defensive skills. We want mana cost reduction. The last one here is you probably either want CER, or I think you can maybe get resource generation on Amulet. Maybe you can't. This is kind of like a bottom one here because they did nerf cooldown reduction, although I still think it's going to be the best stat. Moving on, we do want the Blizzard Spikes on our Amulet because they are our kind of main damage source, so we're going to want Ice Spikes, and as soon as we get that, we can switch over to our Ice Spikes build. Deep Freeze, again, this is going to increase our Ice Spikes radius. I do like this one. There is a bit of swapping out that you can do from some other stuff. There's like some stun legendaries and stuff like that. People have swapped from different ones, but I do like this. This is the one that I would change. Now, for our rings, we do want essentially vulnerable damage, crit strike chance, crit strike damage, and cold damage. Probably something that you could switch off for resource generation. So I would swap out the cold damage for resource generation. That would be your top stuff there for both of these. Now this, I wouldn't use the use cooldown restores 15 mana. I'd probably go with Avalanche passive +1. But the reason why we're using this is because, again, I was fighting Uber Lilith, and I had the cooldown restore because the passive doesn't actually get triggered with Uber Lilith. Moving on to our offhand. Again, this one's pretty close to BIS other than our lucky hit chance. We could probably get crit chance on that. Primary resource gen, mana cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and then we have our 32% more damage to immobilized enemies. Now, as far as our Paragon board goes, I'm going to have a full link to it down below. I finally basically optimized our stuff here. Our first board, essentially we're going to go Elementist, then we're going to come into Icefall, and we're going to go ahead and take Exploit in that glyph socket there. We'll come over here, we're going to take Frigid Fate, we're going to slap in that Tactician, grab some stuff here for vulnerable damage. We come down here, we're going to get Flame Feeder on this one, which is the Elemental Summoner. This is kind of like the most controversial one because we have like some conjuration damage that really doesn't help us here. But the issue is we really want this max mana. I feel like the max mana is going to be a must on new Sorc, especially with the current patch. There is some stuff in the Malignant Armor stuff, or the Malignant Gems rather, that kind of have where they can use all of your mana and then it'll do like insane amounts of damage. That's going to be really cool to toy with, so I do think we're going to want the mana here, the overall mana. So this is something that I'm definitely going to keen in on and focus in on, is getting my mana as high as possible to experiment with that, but I also do think that it just helps us overall. Moving on to our next board here, we do have Burning Instinct. This one is pretty much a must. Damage to burning enemies, that we need that for our Devouring Blaze. And then in our glyph socket here, we do have critical strike damage. This one actually did get buffed. This is the one thing that Sorc got buffed other than all the nerfs. And we actually did get the crit strike damage is increased to all damage. It's not just to our core skill ability. However, I don't believe that Blizzard can crit, but the spikes can crit. And so it still helps us overall. And even with teleport damage, stuff like that, it's still going to help us. Coming down into here, our last board is Searing Heat. Pretty much these are all the same mostly compared to a lot of builds. However, I've kind of tried to optimize it as much as I can. We come down here, we're going to take the crit damage, stuff like that. And then for our last glyph socket, we'll take Control. Now there are some swap outs here. Definitely swap out Control if need be, or even critical strike damage for Frostbite, which I have seen utilized. And then we can get that extra willpower, because for right now we are missing out on 8 mana by not having that additional willpower. But there's a lot of, you have to make a lot of adjustments to get that willpower there. Again, I'm going to have this entire board. I'm going to have all of my skill points and all of my character sheets down below in the description. So if you want to go to that, you can go to the max roll link. That's usually the better one. I think now it has like everything there. If you want to compare that stuff, you can. That should about cover it for the full build guide for the Paragon board, as well as the skills and stat prioritization. Pretty sure I got this down. Sorc is feeling really, really rough right now, especially with the damage mitigation. Even with this damage mitigation, we really aren't taking a lot less damage. But hopefully overall with some of the new gems, we can kind of get some more damage mitigation. For now, I think this is what's going to have to do. That does about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe. Until the next one. Deuces.